Yo, what's up? As of last night's Monday Night Raw, we got probably one of the genuinely best segments I've seen in wrestling in a really, really long time. But before we can get into that, we gotta talk about the build up to it, because the build up, impeccable. So if you remember last week, we got the debut of the Wyatt Six. There were tons of Easter eggs towards Bray and everything. It honestly felt like a tribute to Bray in its entirety. But after that, we did get some more storyline progression. We got what happened with Chad Gable. We got the Adam Pearce glitches. We got what happened with Pat. I'm gonna butcher his name. McAfee. I don't know. But we got all that building up to it. So there was like eyes. There were eyes on Monday Night Raw for sure, and they fucking delivered so well. I don't know how Chad's ass is back. His ass was dead, but oh my god, he's definitely going to be dead in the future. So, tonight on Monday Night Raw, Chad Gable finished winning a triple threat match, and then afterwards we got what is believed to be Sister Abigail crawling into the ring, him getting out of course, because fuck that bitch, that shit's scary, right? And she delivered a package, a VHS tape, which got as a segment with Uncle Howdy that I would say was one of the most emotional and well written segments I've seen in all of wrestling, and I genuinely mean that. The clip begins as almost like a therapy session between Bo and Howdy, and it's just really, really interesting to see how they're going to characterize this and how much they were willing to get real with it. We start off with Howdy asking things that we've seen in the QR codes. It was things we saw in the hack. It was things we saw with the psychiatrist. It was things we saw in the papers. It was things like, are you happy? Do you remember who you are? All of this. And it was just so interesting because it tied back into the QR codes and told us the reasonings for these questions, and that he was questioning himself, and that it went on a deeper level with himself, which I thought was a really interesting direction to go with that. When we eventually got to that dreaded question, do you remember who you are, which has been so important to the story overall, we got Bo saying, I'm nobody, which ties back into when Howdy said, I am all of us. It's just such a different mindset. The contrast between the two characters while also being the same character, because it's portraying that Howdy is like his dark side. And another thing about the I am nobody, it ties into later when he starts to talk about Bray. He's been asked about Bray finally. How did it feel when your brother died? Which, by the way, shook me when I heard that. I was like, no fucking way they said that. And he starts talking about how he wanted to do so many things with Bray, and that Bray and him had like they were gonna rule and everything. So it shows me that his self-worth was tied into Bray, hence why he is nobody. Because when asked about his brother death, he also specified he feels like he'll never matter again, because his self-worth was tied to Bray, his older brother. And Howdy understands that and seems to be manipulating that for whatever goal he really has in mind, whether it be to remember Bray or not. We're not sure exactly what Howdy's goals are, but we're given the why for what Bo does. And we're given a bit of the why for Howdy, but enough to where like it's still interesting and intriguing. We don't know everything. We're going to keep coming back for more. And hopefully they could continue like these therapy session-esque things. It's such a deep way to look into the characters. We forget that like Bray and Bo were a team before, and the callbacks to like what they used to do together and what they were planning to do together with the Howdy and Bray characters were just really nice, and you could feel the raw emotion the entire time in Bo's voice and his facial expressions. But more importantly, when we did get to Uncle Howdy, everything, it told you so much about the way he was feeling with just like his smile. You really didn't even see his eyes, but just his face beneath the mask was showing so much. The way he would smile at the emotion that was being portrayed and everything, because he was taking advantage of it, I believe. Because he was taking advantage of it. He was taking advantage of the raw emotion. He was asking about Bray's legacy because Bo wanted to be like Bray. He was like, well, you could be exploiting his legacy. And you know how much that would hurt Bo, but maybe that was the point from Howdy. And at the very end, we did get the reveal that it was within the Firefly Funhouse. And I've seen some people say that this would imply that it was within that it could be like within Bray's mind, that Howdy could somehow get into Bray's mind, but I don't agree with that theory. Let's take you back to WrestleMania with the John Cena versus Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse match. It shows that like the Funhouse was intended to be a place that can dive into your memory and take from you and exploit everything that you've had, show you your past, show you what could have been. It's like a purgatory in itself almost. And I think that's the way it's acting for Bo Dallas right now. Maybe that's why he entered, to try to attempt to find himself. Because that's what the Funhouse has done for other people. Even if it hurts them, it helps them to find themselves. And that's what I believe the Funhouse is doing for him. Maybe Howdy specifically wanted to be there for what the Funhouse has been shown to do, what it did to John Cena, how it affected Bray Wyatt. We don't really understand a lot about the place, but that's my theory around it. We received multiple freezes during the glitches, freezes on Bo's face, but specifically it would be when he was covering his face or pushing his face back. It kind of reminded me of the way Bray would have those parts in his segments when he first returned, where he seemed to like be taking a metaphorical mask off and stuff. We could be doing some sort of callback to that type of hand and face acting that he had, but that's really just a theory as to why they chose to freeze on those specific frames. To be completely honest, the segment was just, it was a beautiful segment. It targeted hate towards it with the idea of exploiting Bray's legacy. It went on to explain other things such as like the character motivations of the two, showed us a better look at how the Firefly Funhouse is leading to a bunch of interesting theories. I think they did as good as they could this week, and I'm really happy with it.